Shri Ganesha Sharada Gurubhyo Namaha Agajanana Padmarkam Gajananam Aharnisham Anekadam Tam Bhaktanam Ekadantam Upasmahe. Welcome to all for this session on Ganesha Purana to chapter 60. From the previous chapters, we started hearing a new story about Gajanana as told by Brahma. In the story, there was a king named Shurasena who one day saw the divine vehicle of Indra falling down to earth in his area. And finally, when he queried the reason why the vehicle was fallen down, that was because of being viewed by somebody who had a very bad evil eye. And then he told about many stories, especially the story of Brushundi, to whom Indra had gone to visit. And then, when Shurasena inquired of him what is the remedy for his vehicle to again rise back to heaven, the only way is if someone who has done the Sankastahara Chathurthi Vratha, which is to be done on the fourth day on the dark side of the lunar month. So, whoever has done that Sankastahara Chaturthi Vrata, they have to donate all the virtue they had got, the benefit they had got because of that Vrata, and only that can make the vehicle again to rise back to the heaven. Such is the power of Sankastahara Chaturthi Vrata. And then Shurasena asked him whether anyone has done it before. And as Indra started telling the story of Krithaveerya, halfway through in that story came another story wherein Narada, who had seen Krithaveerya, the king Krithaveerya being having no son, he had gone to the forest and started doing fast until death. And seeing that, Narada went to Pitraloka and told the father of Krithaveerya that your son is going to die, and if he die without a son, then all your ancestry will going to fall into the hell. But while returning back from the Pitraloka, Narada saw the hell, that too especially the Kumbhipaka hell, in which the Brushundi's family was suffering. On seeing that, the compassionate Narada came down to Brushundi and told him about the fate of his family. At that time, Brushundi, having already done the Sankastahara Chaturthi Vrata, he donated all his capability, all his benefit he got because of that Vrata to his family, so that with that, not only his family, the entire set of people who were there in that Kumbhipaka hell, all the evil people had attained the Ganesha Loka and they were all carried to the Ganesha Loka. Such is the power of Sankastahara Chaturthi Vrata. Now, on hearing this, the story continues into the chapter 60. The king Shurasena asks Indra, when they all had escaped from the Kumbhipaka hell and had gone to heaven, what strategy did Krithaveerya's father adopt then? Because by this time Narada went to Krithaveerya's father and he told him the fate of his son. So now it is up to Krithaveerya's father to save his son. So Indra continued the story, distressed because he had heard from Narada about the cessation of his own lineage, being the Krithaveerya being having no son. If he dies without a son, then his lineage itself will come to the end. He went immediately to Brahma's world and visited lotus seated Brahma. After he had bowed to him, he asked the reason for the cessation of his lineage, saying, my son is exceedingly righteous, he is eloquent, a performer of sacrifices, the yagnas, he is devoted to Desh and the gods. He is very proud, O Brahma. To obtain a son, he eagerly performed many rites. So why does he still not have a son? O Lord of the gods, having entrusted his kingdom to his ministers, he has located himself in the forest, eating wind. That means he is breathing only the air. Virtually all that is left of him is bone, and he will die today or tomorrow. He committed an evil deed in a former life, because of which he will now die. O Lord, be compassionate, O lotus born Brahma, and tell me a way to further his lineage, and I will communicate it to him. After hearing this, after hearing all the story from Krithaveerya's father, Brahma made a pleasing speech. Listen, and I will describe your son's previous birth. Previously, a low caste man in a city, he was named Sama. His activities were evil in the extreme, and a sight of him was destructive of merit. Out of greed for money, he once killed 12 peaceful Brahmins on the road and left them in a cave. After he had taken, this is the past life, previous birth of Krithaveerya. After he had taken everything belonging to them, he returned to his own house at the rising of the moon on the night of the fourth day of dark fortnight of Magha. In fact, a Sankastahara Chaturthi being Sankastahara Chaturthi that comes on the fourth day of the dark fortnight, called as Krishna Paksha of the Magha Masa, is considered as the most auspicious. Incidentally, though he was not performing any kind of such vratas, that Sama in his past life, the past life of Krithaveerya, so in that life, on that particular day, on the fourth day of the dark fortnight, the Krishna Paksha of the Magha, O king, having immediately summoned his son with the words, incidentally, in the previous life, that Sama's son's name was Ganesha, and he called out, Ganesha, Ganesha, and he ate happily with him, as he had not yet had water or food. Incidentally, on the Sankasta Chathurthi day, people do the fasting for the whole night, and in the night, when the moon rises, after seeing the moon, they have their fast. They have their food, breaking their fast. So here, incidentally, it so happened that on the fourth day of the Krishna Paksha Chaturthi, Krishna Paksha Chaturthi, on that day, the whole day he didn't had any food. The Sama didn't had any food, and in the night when the moon rise, after the moon rise, he came to home and he called out his son, whose name also incidentally happens to be Ganesha. So he called him twice, Ganesha, Ganesha, and that itself became the worship of Ganesha. And he ate happily with him, as he had not yet had water or food. In time, with time, your son died, but through the merit arising from the Sankasta Chathurthi Vratha, though he had not performed Sankasta Chathurthi Vratha, he simply called out the name of Ganesha and had food after the moonrise. Just because of that reason, Sankast having merit of arising from the Sankasta Chaturthi Vrata, which had been performed inadvertently by mistake. Somehow it has been done at the rising of the moon on the night of the fourth day of the dark fortnight. O king, he went to Vinayaka's abode, that which gives happiness. He was mounted on an excellent vehicle, and hosts of nymphs were regarding, praising, and honoring him with celestial flowers. In consequence of just a remnant of your merit, he became a king named Krithaveerya. Your son, who is now your son on earth, with the destruction of his mass of evil, a son will be born to him, O faultless man. Incidentally, because of that reason, though he went to Ganesha Loka, he has to return back to the earth because he had committed lot of sins in the past, and he has to finally he has to finally face the fruit of that action of killing several Brahmins, several people, several good knowledgeable people in the past. So he has to face that. But because he had done that Sankasta Chaturthi, he had done some kind of a Sankasta Chaturthi Vrata inadvertently. Just he did the fasting and had the food after the moon. Because of that great virtue, he became the king in the current birth. After he had heard Brahma's speech, the excellent king became confused and he asked further about the stratagem for the destruction of the evil. Krithaveerya's father asked Brahma, O Brahma, how can this evil caused by the killing of Brahmins be destroyed? Tell me, O ocean of compassion, even if what is to be done is very difficult. Then Brahma told him, if your son correctly performs, because in the previous life he had inadvertently performed, so if he correctly performs the Vrata called as Sankasta Chathurthi, he will be freed from that evil. Then the king asked, how is this auspicious Vrata be performed and in what month, O Brahma? Tell me everything about that which will destroy all his evil, O Lord. Then Brahma told him, if the fourth day falls on a Tuesday in the dark fortnight of Magha Masa, there are 12 months in the lunar calendar, of which Magha is considered as the most auspicious for that. And on that Magha Masa, on the dark fortnight, that is in the Krishna Paksha, when the moon will be keep on waning from the full moon towards the no moon day, from Purnima full moon day towards the no moon day, that is called as Krishna Paksha. And in that Krishna Paksha, the fourth day of the Krishna Paksha called as Krishna Paksha Chaturthi, and incidentally, if Maghamasa Krishna Paksha Chaturthi, if it falls on a Tuesday, it is considered as still more auspicious. But that doesn't happen every time. It happens only occasionally. Very rarely it will come, and it is called as Angaraka Chaturthi. We'll come to that in a following chapter. So if it falls on Tuesday, one should begin it when the moment is an auspicious one and the moon is in an auspicious form. After cleaning one's teeth, one should wash 21 times. Then one should perform the obligatory rituals and later on recite the mantra. In fact, how one should clean up their mouth before uttering the mantra is explained here. In a state of silence and avoiding criticism of others, one should fast and, as a rule, give up betel nut and avoid offensive activity. One should not eat the betel nut during that period and should not involve in any offensive activity, because if betel nut juice is still in your mouth, then while you are uttering the mantra, there is a possibility it might spit out from your mouth. So, because of that reason, there are certain restrictions. One should also avoid drinking water, that is called as fasting. Dry fasting, not even drinking water, injuring others and backbiting. At the end of the day, one should bath with a moist mixture of sesame oil and myrobalan. And in order to please Ganesha, one should recite according to the precepts a single mantra, a six syllable mantra, a Vedic mantra, or his name mantra. These are different mantras of Ganesha which we had heard in the past. Single syllable mantra, six syllable mantra, or the Vedic mantra like the Gananantva Ganapatim Bhava, which came in during the story of Gritsamada, or the name itself, what Brushundi has repeated, called as Om Namo Ganeshaya or Ganeshaya Namaha, something like that. Then, with the mind stilled, one should meditate on Gajanana, God of gods, For a muhurta, one should then worship Gananayaka by means of 16 ritual procedures, something similar to the 16 ritual procedures what we seen during the Vinayaka Chaturthi Vrata, as told by Himavan to Parvati. A similar kind of a 16 ritual procedures and a variety of offerings, including sweetmeats, large round cakes, flour cakes, modakas, pulse cakes, fluids, various foods, condiments, which can be licked or sucked, various fruits, arecanut and betel. This can be offered to Ganesha, not supposed to be chewed by the individual who is performing the worship. Honorariums and so forth, lamps, 21 pieces of durva grass and flowers. These are what is to be offered to Ganesha, beginning with a mantra at moonrise, and after offering worship with a valuable gift to the lunar day, then to Gajanana, and afterwards to the moon, and then having bowed and repeatedly requested forbearance, one should devotedly feed 21 Brahmins in accord with one's capacity. But if unable to do so, one should fully gratify 10 or 12 Brahmins with honorariums. Then, after hearing a tale, one should feed oneself appropriately while remaining silent. After which, one should pass the remainder of the night in singing and music, of singing the glory of Ganesha along with music. O king, if this vrata is performed diligently for 1 year, starting from the Maghamasa, if it continues and completed, done for at least 1 year, people do continue it beyond that also. For 1 year, a man will have an excellent son, as all his evils will be destroyed, and he will obtain any other wish of which he might think. All his difficulties will be removed, and he will not be frightened for a hostile army. If while standing at the base of a shami tree, shami is again another tree whose leaves are considered sacred. We'll see that in the following chapter. If while standing at the base of a shami tree, engaged in fasting and reciting, a blind, dumb, a stupid, or even a lame man should perform this vrata from the rising of the moon until its decline, he will obtain what he wants, and there can be no doubt that he will gain a kingdom, wealth, sons, and wives one by one in each of the months, beginning with Shravana, one should eat sweet meat and ghee, etc., until the year is completed, and then one will achieve ultimate success. This is a vrata which you can start either in the Maghamasa or in the Shravana Masa, and then because Shravana is considered as the most auspicious among all the months, so then they should continue it for 1 year, and at the end of that year, they should do the Samaradhana. That is the concluding for that particular vrata. That is how exactly the procedure goes. So Krithaveerya's father said, but why is the fourth Tuesday declared to be special? That is Krishna Paksha Chaturthi, and if it falls on Tuesday, why? What is the speciality of that? Kindly tell me, O Brahma. I am bent down in deference, and though I have been hearing this auspicious tale about Gajanana, I have still not had enough. Thus ends the 60th chapter of Upasana Khanda of the glorious Ganesha Purana, in which Krithaveerya's father went to Brahma and asked him the reason why his son Krithaveerya could not able to have any son. Then Brahma told him that in the past life he was a very wicked man named Sama, and he was killing lot of knowledgeable, resourceful people existing in the society. And that sin of killing the Brahmins is preventing him from getting the son. But incidentally, on one particular day, that too especially when it was a Maghamasa Krishna Paksha Chaturthi, and that day he could not able to get the food. So inadvertently he was doing the fasting because he didn't got the food. And in the night when he came home, there was a moonrise, and at that time he called out his son, who incidentally named as Ganesha. So he called him twice, Ganesha, Ganesha, and then both of them had the food past the rise of the moon, which is supposed to be the procedure to be followed during the Sankastahara Chaturthi Vrata. Because of that virtue, he became the king in the present life. But then, if he performs the same Sankasta Chaturthi Vrata in the set as per the set procedure, then he will all his evil acts will going to be destroyed. That is what told by Brahma. So now Krithaveerya's father is asking for the details of Sankasta Chaturthi Vrata. नमस्ते शारदा देवी काश्मीरपुरवासिनी त्वामहं प्रार्थये नित्यं विद्यादानं च देहि मे. Goodbye.